So this month, we are focused on discovering the 7 keys to unlocking our inner creative genius. And we're doing so against the backdrop of a metaphysical understanding of the creation story in Genesis, and with guidance by the book The Creative Life by Unity luminary Eric Butterworth. We started with the first key last week. Anybody remember what that one was? Let there be light. It's probably the easiest one that we can remember of all of them, let there be light, but it's the first place we have to start when we're trying to tap in to something that is seeking to emerge rather than trying to embrace something that's already out there. That's the creative part, is how can we bring new things? We've seen it. We've watched this amazing evolution of life over thousands of years. In fact, it just seems that creation process seems to be speeding up. I don't know if that's old age or if there really is time moving faster, but it seems to be calling for more and more of this light to come in to the world. It is a complex world. It's a changing world. And most people will agree that more light is needed, more awareness of this spiritual life that is immersed in this human experience we're having. In our spiritual journey, more light for us reflects awakening to this innate nature of God. It means waking up to seeing God. We sing it, we talk about it, but now we want to really see it around us. We want to fan that spark of our own divine inheritance, what we often call our inner Christ light. Light for us is insight, it's guidance, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, it's compassion. It's all the forms of divine love, which is that very creative energy of God. And our practice last week was to start each day by giving what we anticipated that day to look like a light treatment, whether it's the appointments we were having or relationships that we were going to be engaged in or some task we had to do. Just bring it after we sort of grounded ourselves and up the light volume within us to just infuse all of that in there. And he said, the author said, if you'll do this, you will discover, you will experience many more magical God moments. So I'm just curious, and this is an opportunity where you actually get to speak. You can talk and tell me. Any of you have any magical God moments this past week? Yeah, Susan. In a couple of sentences, could you be, just really concisely. So, and I know we probably should have a microphone because those who aren't in the room probably couldn't hear all of that, but she basically had a God moment in the midst of some chaotic torrential rain and being struck by lightning at her car and finding herself going in the wrong direction, and yet was able to navigate through that without any real long-term consequences other than just catching your breath, I would imagine. Yeah, if you're watching at home, you can type it in. You know where those comments are. You can type one into me. I'll share one, and then if maybe somebody else has one to share, and then we'll kind of move on. But I'll tell you, one of my God moments happened this past Friday, and I was coming into work, and I got cut off. And I mean, I was this close from being creamed by somebody who didn't yield when the sign said yield. And I was pretty upset, and I was pretty angry, and you know how those people are so inconsiderate, all those things that started rolling through my mind, being upset with my fellow human beings. And I went to get my coffee through Starbucks, and this is the second time this happened to me. Somebody just magically had paid for me. And it was almost in an instant going, oh, people are good at their very nature. People are, kind. And it was an instantaneous shift in my own heart, in my own thought process. And that, to me, is a God moment. When we can have those shifts that take us from our humanness to our spiritual awareness, it's a miracle. Let me see, I don't have anybody texting anything yet. Here, anybody else? We'll do one more if somebody else has one they want to share. No, it's a shy crowd. Well, hopefully, if you didn't have any, you'll keep doing that light treatment and see what happens this week. So as we move to the second key, the second day, God said in this creative process, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. And God called the firmament heaven. That's kind of the vision of what a firmament would look like. I have to look it up every time because it's not really a word that we use in our everyday language. In fact, it's a very ancient word. It can first be traced back in Hebrew and in Greek hundreds of years before Jesus walked the earth. This reflected the view of people at that time of what this environment they lived in looked like. There was a flat land, there was a dome over the top, and inside that dome was the sun and the stars and the moon and all, and this God just kind of created that and set it in the midst of the heavens. And the dome was heaven. It was the outer realm, and just beyond that is where heaven was. This view hung around for eons. And it wasn't until we got to understand science a little bit better, and those who were in that creative genius were willing to look beyond just what had been told to them, was the nature of the world, was the nature of our world anyway. In fact, it's interesting that when people started to challenge that, the first reaction by all of the other people, and especially by the church, it was blasphemy. Galileo was tried and convicted of speaking in untrue ways and trying to change things that they knew to be true. Today, the sky is but a lens which lies with the mystery of a limitless universe. This is how we understand that we are a part of something that is so vast and unknown as of yet in many ways. This is the boundlessness of creation, and it is reflective of the boundlessness of our own ability to create. And it points us to the second key, because the second key is all about our perceptions, our beliefs, where we place our faith. Most people of that time, when they believed that we were just surrounded by this big dome, had absolute faith that that was the truth. That's the way they saw it, that's the way they understood it, and that's how they engaged in this world. So faith, which is how we direct our beliefs and our perceptions, is integral into how we unlock the second key of our creative genius. All discoveries begin in faith. Well, you hear that? All discoveries begin with a belief that there's something more to be discovered. It begins with a belief that there is a different way to look at it, to understand something, to bring something into the physical realm. It is our ability to bring the light of infinite possibilities into our awareness. If we only have faith in what we experience with our senses, we have limited those possibilities. So faith is really about stepping out into that realm of things unknown, but available for us to begin to bring in to our own way of seeing and understanding and believing into the world. And then to direct that light of infinite possibilities by our faith. The author reminds us that we never lack faith. Sometimes you'll hear people say, I just need more faith. Well, we've been given all the faith as our inheritance. We have all that we'll ever need. If things aren't working in the way we want them to, or if we're finding ourselves living from a set of understandings and emotions like worry and fear and belief. It's not that we need more faith in the possibility of hope and love. We just have now directed it to a different place, because he reminds us that love is faith, but so is fear. Trust is faith, and so is worry. Abundance is faith, and so is lack, because it is where we live with our beliefs that determine how we're going to experience it. So the key is not really about getting more faith. It's about discovering our power to redirect our faith into ways and into places that we want to have more of an experience of. When we're seeking to create something new, it's knowing that we can direct that light into places beyond what we have experienced up to date, or that we can perceive, but to open it to an even wider receptivity for it to come into our awareness. The author writes that you need to realize that releasing your creativity is merely a matter of releasing the power that was prepared for you from the foundation of creation. It's already there. It is the positive act of directing this inner light and tuning in to God mind. You know, Jesus, when he was speaking to the people of his time, he often used stories and parables to help people try and grasp what can sometimes seem like really difficult concepts, depending upon where we are in our journey. He would use things like, fields and animals and labor and all the things that people were, they could understand all that. They got it when he told those stories. So I was thinking about this, and I thought, well, how would we tell these stories today? So here's two ways to kind of conceptualize this in a little metaphor, if you will. So faith is like a rheostat, or today it would probably be called a dimmer switch. Everybody know what, you have this installed in your house. You have the power to turn the light up. You have the power to turn the light dimmer. Yet the full power is there all the time. The power has not changed. It's just that control of how much or how little is being expressed through the device, the light bulb. And here's another one that can help, at least it helps me some, to try and figure out ways that I can image this in my own mind, that we tune our minds and hearts to different vibrations. Science tells us now that everything has an energetic vibration to it. There's a frequency to it. Some vibrate very dense, like this table is all energy. It's just vibrating at a very dense, slow level. Everything has a vibration attached with it. So we have the ability to tune our minds just like the frequency on a radio channel. All we're doing is tuning to a different vibrational energy when we change it from one channel to another. So if we don't like what we're experiencing, if we don't like how life is unfolding, we simply are being called to tune it to a different frequency, to tune in to something that is more in alignment with what we understand and what we want to call forth into our lives. So that's our opportunity for this second key, is to see how we can turn up the light or tune in the light so that it is directing our own creative nature to something that we really want to experience and express out of our lives. So as we move into a time of meditation, so as we just take a moment to again take all of this information and bring it into our awareness, in that place within us that knows that we are so much more than this human body and what these human senses tell us that we are, that the world is. We tune into that frequency. You can call it the God channel, you can call it the love channel, the channel of healing, the channel of abundance. Whatever is wanting to be increased in your own life right now. As you begin to just breathe, and that breath brings a level of coherence into your own vibrational frequency. Imagine now that you are just fine-tuning that dial until you find the frequency that you want to vibrate at in this moment. Just breathe into it. Feel your own energetic being. Being moved and lifted and infused with a new rhythm. And know that whenever we found that we've moved the dial somewhere else because of some external experience we're having, all we need do is go back to this inner sanctuary. Turn up the lights and tune in to something, to the vibration of what we want more of, what we want to experience for ourselves and for our world. And then taking another deep breath, I just invite you to come back into this time and into this space and into this awareness. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. You know, it's helpful when we're having a hard time finding the right dial within us. You can actually go tune into these things. We've exported it out there. There are happy channels. There are channels where you can go and research and just hear how other people are creating more love in their life, creating more wholeness in their life. It's all out there. So if you have a hard time doing it within, first start raising your vibration by knowing what's possible for others. And then you can know it's possible for yourself. And it points to our second key that is integral for unlocking this, our third key that is integral in unlocking this creative possibility, this creative genius within us. The third day, God said, "Let the waters under heaven be gathered together in one place, and let dry land appear." Our imaging process, our imaginative process, creates our dry land. It puts form on it. So once we have this great, vast array of unlimited possibilities, we can then begin to direct it and put form on it. Not in an external way, but within ourselves. When we're creating with faith, centered in this divine mind, this land that represents all the possibilities, how we outpicture those thoughts through our imagination is what he is calling the I-am-aging, the imaging process. And this isn't the typical imaging that by default we use. Most of the time, we see something out there, we say, I want that, give me some more of that, or give me an experience of that, and then we try and image that in our minds to bring it into being. How many of you done a vision map or an I am map? You know, I've done them many times. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is just simply wanting to take somebody else's creative energy and have it be a part of ours. And we lose some of our own potential because we haven't tapped in to what it is for us. This is an imaging where the land has not yet appeared. It is that part of us that says, let me bring it forth. Imaging yourself as an artist, you can try and replicate, and usually that's the first step. You practice, you follow what somebody else has done, but that's not your creative genius. And if you only ever do that, you probably won't ever have the same experience of those who have expressed out of the very realms of nothingness yet. Your focus, your time, and your energy is seeking to find what wants to emerge uniquely from within you. And when we are in that new territory where we don't know, the image process may take some time. It may take being willing to sit with it, to focus on it. It's going to take an energy of faith that it's possible that something out of this seemingly nothingness, something unique, is going to be created by my unique expression of it. And it all starts in our minds and our hearts. It doesn't necessarily need to be practiced out there. It starts up here. And we're learning this through many studies that have been done, that by practicing something in mind is the same in its results as practicing it physically. Excuse me. There was a study, there's been many studies done, but there was one that came out of Harvard many years ago. They took 3 control groups. You may have heard this one. And each group, so the first group, they had them all baseline, measured them of their ability to shoot baskets into a hoop. So they had them all shoot baskets for an hour. They kind of put a baseline on there. The first group, they said, all right, we want you to practice every day for an hour. Come to the gym and practice shooting baskets every day for an hour. The second group, they said, just go home and forget about it for the next 30 days. Don't worry about it. And the third group, they said, we want you to practice shooting baskets for an hour each day, but in mind. Just in your imagination, just visualize yourself shooting these baskets for an hour every day. And when they brought the groups back together, as you might suspect, the second group, who did nothing, really didn't have any improvement in their ability to shoot baskets. The group that had practiced physically for 1 hour for those 30 days, they improved by about 24%. The group that had practiced in mind only improved by 23%. An almost negligible difference between. Because the nervous system, this body that we're housed in, it doesn't know the difference. It can't tell whether or not it's actually happening or it's simply happening in our minds. How many times have we created a picture in our mind that we feel the full either love or terror of that, even though it's not really happening? It's oftentimes in worry projecting into the future. The nervous system doesn't know the difference whether it's happening or not. We are constantly creating in mind. The question is, what are we picturing? What kind of attracting energy are we vibrating? And if we want to unlock our creative genius, this is the third key that opens it up in a greater way for us. Whether it's greater health or financial abundance or clarity of purpose or more loving relationships, the place to start is not out there. It's to start within. So here's your invitation this week, to pick a certain area in your life that you would like to image. Again, from the formless into the form, to tune your faith to the channel that broadcasts that energy, and then see what unfolds. Be willing to be in this curiosity of what unfolds as a result. Once centered in that, just open your mind to this free flow of energy. One way you can do that is just to journal. In other words, you set it all up, and then you just start writing. And you're not editing. It doesn't have to make any sense to anybody. It doesn't have to, or doodling, you can draw some. Just allow that free flow of energy to be expressed out in some way. You could speak it into a tape recorder. You can, so many different ways, and just to capture and see what unfolds. And you might want to do this several times and just see what shows up and be open to that rather than to perhaps what you thought it would look like. To paraphrase the 60s slogan, this is what came to me this morning. I don't know, many of you were around in the 60s. And I don't know if you remember this, but the phrase was, we need to turn on and tune out. No, excuse me, turn on, tune in, and then it was drop out. Today I'm focusing on the turn on and the turn in. It's when we are able to focus our energies in that way, to not want to create from what we've experienced out here, but to create from that pure potentiality that we can show up and add our gifts to the world. It will definitely take us to some higher ground. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of our financial good with this ministry. We are so grateful for all the channels of good and abundance that flows through us. We remain open to those infinite possibilities. We continue to receive from channels known and unknown, and so we just open our minds and our hearts to the fullness of all of it, knowing that we are abundantly blessed. So let us take what we offer today, the energy of it or the physical gift, into our hands, into our heart, and bless it. Together, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
Well, how about we do our peace song? Come on, everybody, stand up and join hands. Let's do this together. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
So as we go into this day, into this week, turning on and tuning into the light of God, we go knowing our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.